back.
Yo, Denal, how did you snag first? Nobody knows my schedule this week. It's like nobody pays attention. It's like, how did you get here? Anyway, good job. Welcome in, dude. How are you doing? Hydrate.
Welcome back.
Done. Thanks for that. The straw betrayed me.
Welcome back.
Hey, what's up, Base Guru? How you doing, man? All right, we're starting off coughing. What's going on there? Why I got a scratchy throat all of a sudden? All of a sudden. All of it. All right, everything's ready. We got game news to talk about. And quite a bit of it. We're talking about Epic's major disappointing announcement. And some statements following. We got a good bit of Xbox and a good bit of PlayStation news today. And then I think that's about it. Apparently Pokemon Champions got a release date. And some more details, but I don't have like an article. I just have a bunch of people reacting to gameplay and talking about that. Maybe I can pull one real quick though. But how's everybody doing today? Good to see you all. I hope you're all having a great day. Happy Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. Let's have our midweek check-in. How's everybody feeling? How's your week going so far? Scale 1 to 10, 10 being amazing week, 1 being the worst week of your life. How you feeling? I'm again steady 7. It could be better, but it's not terrible. It's a good week. It's going by kind of quick, honestly. My kid's been at camp all week, so it's been really quiet in the house. Doing the midday streams. If I could do the midday streams without having to cut my mornings up, it might be better, but I don't know. I kind of miss going live first thing in the morning, so I guess we could talk about it. Let's see. That doesn't sound super interesting to talk about on here anyway. All right, we're not gonna talk about Pokemon Champions. Hey, nice job with that 55 stream watch streak. Holy moly, dude, that is an insane streak. Yeah, Base Guru drops an 8 in the chat. Excellent, dude. Sounds like you're having a good week. The TikTok stream is live, but chat has not been working properly, so I'm sorry if I miss anybody's messages over on TikTok. And if you're watching on not YouTube, so any platform that isn't YouTube, just remember we got a partner push over on YouTube right now. I need you to open up a new tab wherever you're watching. Pull it up on your TV, or pull it up on a tablet or a smartphone that you're not using, and pull up the YouTube stream from the YouTube channel, from my YouTube channel. Either of the YouTube streams help. Go leave a thumbs up in chat and hit the like button on that stream. That lets me know you guys are watching over there too. We're just grinding up the watch hours. You can see the goal. We're a little under halfway. I haven't checked it today, but I guess we can do our daily update for that goal as well and see where we're at. Let's see. Looks like we see. I don't understand fully how it calculates the watch time or the public watch hours, because it looks like we lost a couple hours, like literally 2 hours from yesterday's update, unless I'm reading the number wrong. Yeah, So like we literally in the update we've lost hours. How do you lose like 2 hours fell off, 3 hours fell off from the thing? And that doesn't make sense to me. All right, we'll refresh the goal because I can't manually update it. I can't just increment it by like an hour. But we're at 1332, so kind of a bummer. But that's the whole game here. That's the whole game here with the watch time. It's ever changing, but it's all right. We're still up. We're still doing good. Anyway, all right. Well, let's jump into our game news as we do on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I don't know what we're doing there. Cut that down a hair. And there we are. Okay. All right. Well, to kick things off, we've got Netflix. Xbox and Netflix are kicking around. That's the wrong zoom. All right. Xbox and Netflix are kicking around ideas for how Netflix and Xbox Game Pass could work together on subscription bundles, according to Netflix CEO Greg Peters. I wish they could figure out something. It would be really nice if Microsoft and Netflix could work out a bundle that actually makes Game Pass a little more affordable, but I don't know what value would be added in a bundle, right? Because Game Pass still has their own costs and Netflix still has their own costs. So what would a bundle even do other than maybe, you know, $5 off of Netflix, maybe $5 off of Game Pass if you bundle them together? You know, like it would just be a cost saving measure. But even then, they're not related, except that, you know, the model is very similar. So I want to see what happens because I'm very curious. I think it would be very interesting if in the Netflix app itself, you could see a cloud streaming Xbox tab if you have that subscription. If you don't, maybe it like, you know, it's an ad for that subscription tier. I don't know if that would work though, because not every TV lets you connect a Bluetooth controller. You know, I think most TVs have a deactivated Bluetooth radio in them, but Roku devices themselves, do they have a Bluetooth radio? I don't know, probably. You know, they could probably connect to an Xbox controller. I don't know though. I don't know for sure. It'd be very interesting if you could directly connect to, you know, anything. Like a lot of TVs have Xbox cloud streaming directly in the OS as its own app. You know, so Netflix could probably work it into its own app. I don't know how that would work. It would just be very interesting if it did happen. But yeah, so I don't know. I would like to see it happen. I just don't know what it would look like. But I thought it was interesting enough, and this all came out yesterday, so I was like, oh yeah, we definitely got to talk about this some. Again, if there is a bundle, I don't know what value it really brings to, you know, Game Pass subscribers who maybe already have a Netflix subscription. You know, I know if I were to jump in, I already have a Netflix sub that I pay for. What does this offer me? Does this bring me back into Game Pass? It might. I might jump back in. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say. I could though. But that brings me to the next thing. I've been talking about, would I resubscribe to Game Pass? And I think we might have a potential reason to. Well, I guess that's not working today. As Xbox CEO Asha Sharma is considering making Game Pass cheaper after last year's price hike. Lower price tiers could be on the way. So maybe this brings me back in. Xbox Game Pass may get some less expensive tiers in the future to make it more accessible. This is the $30 a year for Ultimate may not go away, but maybe something comparable to what, you know, we had before comes in. Last month brought the news that after nearly 12 years leading Xbox and after almost 40 at Microsoft, Xbox CEO Phil Spencer is stepping down and is succeeded by the firm's Core AI product president Asha Sharma. Sharma's already made waves by committing to Xbox's console business in the face of uncertainty and hinting at the potential return of Xbox exclusives, and according to a new report, she's considering some major changes to Xbox Game Pass as well. As reported by The Information, Sharma is considering ways to make future consoles and products like Game Pass more enticing to a broader range of customers. We're all consumers. One potential avenue for this is she's allegedly evaluating is to introduce lower price tiers of Microsoft's gaming subscription service, making it more accessible. Notably, this news comes after Microsoft infamously hiked the monthly price of Game Pass last fall, expanding cloud gaming access and introducing Ubisoft Plus classics to the mix, but controversially increasing the cost of PC Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate. The price of the former rose about 37%, while the latter climbed a steep 50%, which was awful. I think PC Game Pass should just be Game Pass, especially once Helix drops. I think we've read something along those lines that would just kind of get merged. Cheaper tiers include the basic $9.99 per month Game Pass Essential and the $14.99 per month Game Pass Premium, though Sharma may be exploring ways to offer other less expensive tiers or overhaul these existing ones. Theoretically, cheaper options might not include certain benefits or could feature ads. Notably, we exclusively reported earlier this year, Xbox Cloud Gaming will get ad-supported access in 2026. So, an ad-driven tier of Game Pass doesn't sound too enticing, but what would that do? You know, the implementation of an ad-driven tier of Game Pass would be quite a major new addition to the service and may raise some eyebrows. It would make sense, though. TV and film streaming apps like Netflix, Disney Plus, and others have tiers like this after all, and reportedly, Sharma isn't being deterred from experimentation by what's considered standard in the gaming industry. She wants to retain what makes Xbox great, but at the same time, she's willing to question everything, says Vice President of Xbox Gaming Devices and Ecosystem, Jason Ronald. If you've been in the industry or in a certain role for a really long time, sometimes you build blinders where it's like, oh, well, the industry just works that way. She doesn't come with those biases, which makes sense. I think that's a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing, depending on how this whole Game Pass restructure idea goes. Sharma and Microsoft looking for viable ways to bring more gamers into the Game Pass fold makes sense, especially with the service's growth slowing in recent years. Microsoft's multi-platform Xbox strategy with devices like the Xbox Ally handheld and the upcoming Project Helix console PC hybrid, and an earlier report that the company wants to expand Game Pass. It's still unclear how exactly Xbox will go about accomplishing that goal, but however it does, we may see some options for bundle deals with Netflix as well. In the same report, it was revealed that Sharma has allegedly been in talks with Netflix CEO Greg Peters and that the two have kicked around ideas for a partnership. Would this get you to subscribe to Game Pass? The big price hike to Game Pass last year was extremely controversial and drove many users away from Microsoft's subscription service. I was one of them. Therefore, it makes sense that the new Xbox CEO, Asha Sharma, would be looking for ways to make Game Pass more attractive and offering more affordable tiers is a bit of a no-brainer approach to that goal. If there were more or less expensive tiers of Xbox Game Pass, would that get you to sign up for membership? I tell you, if they brought the price down, or brought something in between the premium and ultimate tier that, you know, I don't know. I would consider it. I've considered grabbing the $10 a month tier because I do have some online multiplayer games that I'd like to play, but I kind of hope they just get rid of the online subscription requirement to play games with friends anyway. For the non-free-to-play sector, you know, because right now I look at Helldivers 2 and I'm like, man, I'd like to play, but do I want to resubscribe? I probably should have got it on PC. But then there are days where I'm like, I don't want to be sitting in my office, you know, playing PC games, and I could be sitting in my living room playing a video game. So that's kind of the dilemma, and that's where Helix would really come in and solve that problem for me. But I think that's like a very specific, like, first world problem, chrono problem, you know. That's not a every gamer ever problem. I don't know. I'd like to resubscribe to Game Pass because it was very convenient for me and my kid and, you know, my wife. We would all discover different games with one subscription on that main family Xbox, and then on my, you know, my Series S here in the office, I would just be able to play my games. Harold, good to see you. How's it going? Happy Wednesday. It's just kind of odd, you know. What would bring me back? Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't know. It would need a lot. I would need a tier that offers most of what Ultimate offered before the price increase, even if it didn't come with like EA Play and Ubisoft Plus, just do a day one tier with cloud streaming, and that's it. I think that might be the thing, but I don't know. It just seems like the price hike itself was my issue. It wasn't worth the $30 a month. Everybody might feel a little different. I've talked to, I know people that have long-term subscriptions they'll run out in, mid-summer or in fall or in a couple of months, and they don't plan on renewing when that runs out. And I don't blame them, because who wants to pay $30 a month for a large library of games, admittedly, that you never watch? Netflix is kind of in that same boat, though. The highest tier of Netflix is like $25 a month, and it gets you 4K streaming, sure, but that's really the benefit. And why? Like, I'm not watching everything on Netflix, much like I don't watch everything on Disney Plus. I don't play everything in Game Pass, so maybe I should just reevaluate all of my subscriptions and see how my habits and my viewing habits, my play habits all fit into that. I think that helps. That probably turns me away from subscription services by and large, just to be honest. So I don't know that I could be brought back right now. But let's see. Like I said, a bundle would be interesting, and more stuff would be interesting. But it depends on what that stuff is, right? What are those benefits? Anyway, all right, let's move on, though, because we got more Xbox news. Xbox mode is now officially rolling out, while console players will start to see their cloud save sync status. So Xbox mode is starting to roll out on PC, replacing the old full screen experience, while console players and preview rings gain visibility into cloud save sync status. It appears Xbox is beginning its rollout of Xbox mode, which I like the name. Xbox mode is way cooler than the Xbox full screen experience. Rollout of Xbox mode on the Xbox app, as users have noticed the app now says Xbox mode in the top right corner instead of Xbox full screen. Xbox mode, first announced at GDC and set to arrive on Windows 11 in April, is Microsoft's answer to Steam Big Picture mode. It's a rebrand of the Xbox full screen experience that has been around since last year. Xbox mode gives users to an Xbox-like experience designed for controller use, making it easier to access Xbox PC games and titles installed through Steam, Epic, and other launchers, while avoiding the usual friction of standard Windows 11, at least for gamers. I'm hoping this is cool. I would like to. I wonder if I can get in on the insider ring. I don't know. I don't want my whole OS to be updated, though. So Tom Warren posted, Microsoft's now rebranded, and then it's got a screenshot that just says Xbox mode. That looks cool. I want to see how it runs on like a gaming PC where I'm trying to stream. I wonder how it would run if other stuff would run better. Xbox mode definitely feels like a better name than Xbox full screen experience, and certainly rolls off the tongue better than Steam Big Picture mode. But for me, there's still too many annoyances with the Xbox app itself that the mode relies on, which leads me to look elsewhere, such as apps like Winhanced. Over on the console side of things, users in the alpha skip ahead ring can now start seeing whether the game's cloud save data has synced within the game card menu. Actually, that's really nice. Yo, Harold, nice job hitting that watch streak. Love those emotes. Hey, Professor Monty, thanks for the likes, including different plans for ad enabled or ad free. Yeah, that would be smart. I just don't know what ad enabled Game Pass would look like. That's my biggest thing. All right, let's see. New feature: game card users can now see the status of games cloud save sync for titles you've played on the console when viewing the game card. You can now view more details by navigating to a game's artwork. Currently for alpha, skip ahead at alpha rings. So I guess here, that's actually really nice. I don't know if that comes through. Maybe it does. Let's bring up the picture. Maybe, hopefully it's easy to see. But it just says synced over the art. That's actually, I don't know if that's the best place for it, but that is definitely a good place for it. So I appreciate that. So I believe this feature is already available on the Xbox app, so seeing it head to consoles is great, especially considering efforts for Microsoft to unify their platforms. Right. All right, do you like these changes? I do. I'm excited to try out Xbox mode on my PC. I wonder how my stream PC that I can play Marathon and stream would run with Xbox mode active if I can still run OBS and other stuff. Also, how does Xbox mode behave on a multi-monitor setup? We could see it running on Xbox Ally very succinctly. It's there, it's purpose built for that, but there's no consoles with multi-monitor support. So how does Helix handle that? Can Helix handle that? That's actually a really good point. When I heard similar to current Netflix, like 4 to 5 minutes of ads per 1 hour. Yeah, but still, like if I'm playing a game, if let's say I'm playing like Halo multiplayer or something, does it just interrupt, or does it give me an ad while I'm loading? Like, it's got to be able to know when to show me an ad. Which there's no reason to say they haven't already worked that out. It's just I wonder how that works out, because I know when Sega did the mobile games, the Sega Forever games, every time you paused was pretty much an ad, and then every time you cleared a level, there was an ad. So that was kind of annoying. It definitely broke the pace of playing like Sonic 2, unless you paid for it, But anyway, yeah, super excited about this. I will try it out. I don't know how much featuring I'll do on stream or on the channel for it, but I definitely want to play with it. I definitely want to talk about it. But let's move on. Okay, Halo Studios outsourcing. A broader shift in leadership strategy and approach to game production revealed. Halo Studios balances internal development with external partners. So I thought we hadn't heard about Campaign Evolved in a while. Let's talk about it. All right, recently, I, the author of the article, covered a report from Mr. Rebs, known as Rebs Gaming, detailing that Halo Campaign Evolved is being co-developed by Abstraction, a studio that previously worked on Halo Master Chief Collection, Baldur's Gate 3, Mass Effect, and more. Now, in a follow-up report, Mr. Rebs has shared more details on how Halo Studios, formerly 343 Industries, is approaching outsourcing, what that strategy looks like, and what the studio is still developing in-house. Sylvie, thanks for the follow over on Rumble. In the latest follow-up on Abstraction as co-developers for Halo Campaign Evolved, Rebs has shared more details on how Halo Studios is handling outsourcing. As outlined in the earlier report, Abstraction is responsible for major parts of development in Halo Campaign Evolved, including concept design for missions, level blockout and layout creation, polishing and finalizing mission content, creating scripted events, retuning combat and gameplay, or retuning, combat and gameplay, adapting gameplay for new mechanics like sprint, supporting features such as 4-player co-op. For context on how Halo Studios is approaching this, it's important to look at Pierre Hintz, who joined in 2017 while the studio was still known as 343 Industries. Hintz was involved during the turnaround of Halo the Master Chief Collection and is often credited for the game's recovery. However, according to former developers, that effort relied heavily on external partners, while the publishing team overseeing development leading some to question how much credit Hintz is given. In September 22, Hintz became head of studio, and according to the report, this is when that publishing-led approach began shaping wider development decisions, with a stronger focus on working with external partners. Since then, Hintz appears to have brought a similar approach to the wider studio, with Halo Studios acting more like a publisher in some instances, rather than handling all development internally. This could be good or bad. I don't know, right? If it means that more like games can come out sooner, or they can get more projects, if they can get more projects in the works at the same time without keeping us waiting years between releases, maybe this is a good idea. But I don't know. Like, is it good? Maybe it's better to have Halo in the hands of people who just make games and aren't maybe attached to the series past, but also, are they going to be able to nail what people really liked about Halo back in the day that keeps people coming back, or keeps people getting excited when a new one gets announced, right? Because we all reminisce about how great Halo 1, 2, and 3 were. Some of us really enjoyed Halo 4. Fewer enjoyed Halo 5. And then Halo Infinite, well, that was kind of the culmination of 343 Industries and Microsoft's contracting policies finally coming to a head, you know, the problems with all of that. Because while Halo Infinite had a good multiplayer, and it's still, you know, you can still play it and whatnot, it didn't hit right, you know? It didn't land right with a lot of us. And the campaign was all over the place, right? Like, there was a lot that people liked about it, and then its wildly different approach and open world design left people feeling kind of weird. So, like, is it going to be a good idea to just outsource all of this every time, or is it outsourcing some of it most of the time? It'd be interesting to see. It is worth mentioning that Halo Studios is still heavily involved in Halo Campaign Evolved and continues to handle key areas of development, including user interface design and engineering, online services like co-op and voice chat, cinematics led by Josh Daniels. It is worth also noting that these details come from 2 developers' LinkedIn pages, and Halo Studios itself likely to be more heavily involved than what is outlined here. That said, if Rev's report is accurate, the outsourcing at Halo Studios appears to be a deliberate strategy driven by leadership direction rather than necessity. Of course, this information wouldn't be available without the reporting of Rev, so check for more on X and YouTube. What do you think of Halo Studios' approach to outsourcing? Personally, I'm 2 minds about it. I want to see Halo succeed in whatever way possible. See, that's how I want. I'd like to see Halo come back, be at the top again. Don't know if that's possible. But outsourcing and relying on contractors is something the series has struggled with before, and it can cause issues during development, which is what we saw with Master Chief Collection and Halo Infinite, more or less. With all that said, I'd rather take a glass half full approach and hope for the best. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I still think this is going to be a good release. Campaign Evolved is definitely going to make some waves. I don't know if it's going to matter. You know, the lack of multiplayer of any kind is a real bummer, and then we don't know what's next coming, you know, after this as far as mainline games or another remake. Are they doing the entire trilogy, Halo 1, 2, and 3? You know, retelling these stories with updated visuals. Like, it's there's a lot of rumors, and then there's a lot of speculation, and some of that gets all mixed up, and so then people create their own headcanon about what's going on. And I'm just sitting here like, I'll play Campaign Evolved. It looks fun. You know, it seems like a good time. But I kind of want to know what's in the realm of multiplayer, because as somebody who likes single player games almost first, that's going to be fun for me. Playing co-op, me and my wife will probably enjoy this game co-op together. We played all the Halos together. That's something we're going to do, is enjoy this remake together. But after that, what do we have to look forward to? Can I, you know, does this lead me to jump back into Infinite for a time being once I finish the campaign here? I don't know. I don't know what's next, you know, and that's where, like, the messaging is going to get weird, because if the outsourcing is helping them get multiple projects done at the same time, then awesome. We should see more on whatever, I guess it's Halo number 7 as far as mainline entries go, coming down the pipeline. Then sweet, you know, like, let's see more on that. Let's get that next year or 2028, you know, and then we'll just move into the next project one after the other. Maybe Halo can be on the uphill climb, but I don't know. More information needed, honestly. But let's move to PlayStation, because Halo will be there next year. Let's talk about this. An update on the dynamic pricing story. John Paul over on YouTube, Fortnite update on shutdown. Yeah, we're going to talk about Fortnite in a minute. It's coming. PlayStation's dynamic pricing nearly doubles prices of some games. And good God, this dynamic pricing situation makes me frustrated every time I learn more about it. More examples of Sony PlayStation's dynamic pricing have come to the fore, with evidence showing that it's real, and in some cases you might have to pay almost double what other people will pay for the same game on the PlayStation Store. We need to go all the way back to November 2025, when the discussion about PlayStation's rumored dynamic game pricing surfaced. It had actually been going on a little while before this, and it doesn't look like the strategy is being changed anytime soon. So dynamic pricing is real. Insider Gaming has seen first-hand examples of PlayStation exclusive titles being offered at wildly different prices compared to different customers. Excuse me. The determining factors behind the discount seem to be predicated on your account, potentially how old it is, how recently you've logged in, and more. Look at the example below. There you can see the official Stellar Blade discount and what an Insider Gaming writer was actually offered. The writer was offered a 70% discount compared to the 43% offer many of you are presented with. So $40, and then the bigger offer, $20.99. That is insane, and everybody wants to buy the game at that price. You know, like I would consider it. I've never played Stellar Blade. It hasn't interested me. Same day, same user, same game, different deals. Basic math shows this is near enough a 50% price difference. It does only seem to be happening with the first-party PlayStation titles for the time being, though. However, if one person is getting the chance to buy the game for $39.89, whereas someone else can snap it up for $20.99, then there's definite room for complaint. Yeah, so this is going to lead to people doing a ton of research or buying, games on different accounts. They'll have their don't log in very often unless there's a sale account, and then they'll have their main account, and both will just be necessary. I could see that happening. Dynamic pricing is gross and disgusting, and it's a practice that needs to be shunned and barred and buried and, just outright hated, because it's not fair. It doesn't benefit it only benefits PlayStation. It doesn't benefit the entire player base at all. It benefits the one person getting the deeper discount and makes the other people that aren't getting that deeper discount upset when they find out about it, because that sale thing, okay, that's like walking into a store and going, all right, this rack is 50% off, but then when you go to check out, everybody's being rung up for the same thing, but then like some guy is like, hey, you haven't been in here in a while, that rack is actually 75% off for you. And it's like, well, that's not fair. We all picked up the 50% off price. Like, what's going on here? And that's where like this dynamic pricing thing across the board, I don't care what industry it is, this is awful. All it does is make people aggravated, and it rewards rewards new people or people who don't purchase as much a little more than it rewards your bigger spenders and your loyal spenders, if that even matters. I feel like it doesn't matter, but clearly they're promoting the bigger discount to people who don't spend as much money or don't log on. It's that same instance when you are like trying to buy a vehicle, like you could talk the people down, you can haggle your way down to a good price, or you can pay sticker price. And most people are like, it's stupid to pay sticker price, but some people just don't haggle. They just go, oh, well, I guess if that's what it is. And I think a lot of the dynamic pricing issues are most people are going to go, oh, that's the price it is. And they're not going to question it because they don't know. They don't know that they're being priced up or down a certain way just because they can be. I think Sony needs to be very forthcoming with this. I think any retailer needs to be very forthcoming with this and let us know, why is that happening? Microsoft kind of does something similar where they have deals that are they're marked for you only or just for you. Okay, I could see that. Maybe that's how PlayStation labels these dynamic prices from now on, but it's still kind of messed up that like, hey, I'm getting a deeper discount than somebody else just because of my PlayStation spending habits. And I'd say the same thing about Xbox and Nintendo doing it. It doesn't matter who it is. To change the prices just because of who I am or who somebody else is, that's absurd. Like, we're still customers. We're still spending the same money. Why should it matter? I hate it. I hate everything about it. I hope it goes away. Speaking of things going away, Sony and Honda's PlayStation car has been canceled. The PlayStation remote play-enabled car, Afeela, from Sony and Honda has been canceled. Well, with a name like Afeela, I'm not surprised. Late last year, it seemed that development of this upcoming vehicle was progressing smoothly as Sony and Honda announced that Afeela would begin deliveries in California in 2026. However, between then and now, things seem to have changed, with both parties reevaluating the path ahead. Sony and Honda's Afeela 1 and 2nd model discounted. In a new blog post, Sony Honda Mobility Inc. announced that it will discontinue the launch and development of Afeela 1 its second Avila model. SHM arrived at this decision after a discussion between Sony Group Corporation and Honda Motor Company Corporation Limited. The decision comes right after Honda reassessed its automobile electrification strategy earlier this month. Due to the reassessment, SHM will not be able to utilize certain technologies and assets that were originally planned to be provided by Honda at the time of SHM's initial business planning. Hence, the decision was made that there's no viable path forward to bring the models to market as originally planned. So, yeah, that's not surprising. I really think this car was weird. And the only reason we're talking about it on Game News is because Sony's involvement and it had a PlayStation Remote Play capabilities. Also, I believe this car exists in Hey, thanks for the follow on Rumble. I also think that this car is technically in Gran Turismo 7, I think is the latest one. So you could drive the car there, and that's it. If this car only exists in games now. And I guess whatever early builds they had that they were like testing with. But yeah, kind of weird for Honda to go, hey, we reevaluated everything, and the things that we promised we're not giving you anymore because we reevaluated it. It's like, oh, okay. But it kind of stinks. All right, anyway, let's move on. PlayStation shuts down Dark Outlaw Games a year after its formation. So PlayStation shutting down one of its first-party studios before it ever put out a game. On Tuesday, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier reported that PlayStation is closing Dark Outlaw Games. If you recall, Dark Outlaw was formed in March 25 by former Call of Duty Zombies lead Jason Blundell. At the time, Blundell said that they had been working away in the shadows, but when they had something to talk about, they would step forward. That something never came, and the studio's gone after only a year. It becomes the second Blundell studio to be shut down by PlayStation. His prior company, Deviation, was closed in 2024. Details on why the studio is being closed are currently unknown. In addition to Dark Outlaw Games, Schreier reports that PlayStation is making cuts to its mobile development team as well. In total, roughly 50 people are losing their jobs. It sucks. This industry is falling apart. Everything is like, you have to fit a certain narrative or a certain spec or be a sequel or an established IP, and new IP are too risky. And even the established IPs are too risky. Like, this is just crazy. We don't know what they were working on, but excuse me, chat. It is curious that all of these former Call of Duty developers go out and form studios, and these studios aren't successful. And it makes you wonder, like, what were they working on that wasn't seen as viable that really hurt them in the long run? Like, we don't know. Kind of odd. Every time we read about some of these studios being shut down, we hear Call of Duty come up. And it's like, well, what's going on with the former devs? Like, are they okay? Are they just bad at making games? Is that why they quit working at COD? You know, like, what's going on? But definitely a bummer for everybody involved with Dark Outlaw. I hope they find something better. I truly do. So yeah, things being shut down. Let's talk about Marthon. I don't think it's on the way to shut down, but Marthon may have sold roughly 1.2 million copies worldwide, with the majority on Steam rather than PlayStation, according to analyst estimates. So Marthon may have surpassed 1.2 million sales worldwide. These figures come courtesy of Rhys Elliott, head of market analysis at Alinea Analytics. We talked about this some on Monday. Of those sales, Alinea Analytics believes around 800,000 of those sales are from Steam, 217,000 on PS5, and 133,000 on Xbox Series X and S. That's just under 70% of players on PC, while PlayStation players make up around 19%, and Xbox takes the remaining 11%. I do want to say, seeing the disparity between PlayStation console sales and Xbox Series X and S sales, I would expect this number to be a lot lower, but it's roughly half of what Marthon sold on PlayStation 5. So that's kind of odd if you think about just the proportion of Xbox owners to PlayStation 5 owners. That's a weird number to see. concerning Marathon directly. Okay, this is noteworthy as Bungie is a first-party Sony developer, so the substantial difference between PC and PlayStation figures is especially interesting. Add-on reports from March indicating Sony was ditching its PC release strategy for its single-player games, while multiplayer releases like Marathon and Marvel Tokon will of course remain on PC. Given the popularity of Sony multiplayer titles on PC, you can perhaps glimpse why. Back to Elliot's post, he suggests that the first impression experience for new players is perhaps less approachable than its main competitor, Arc Raiders. To support this hypothesis, Elliot points to the player growth following Arc Raiders' popular Server Slam. On the other hand, Marathon's own Server Slam didn't have the same effect. The argument being, while many people tried Marathon out early, many didn't stick around for the full release. Elliot does, however, follow this up with some good news for Marathon's longevity. Those who stuck with Marathon have been locked in for the long haul, retaining a healthy estimated 380,000 daily active users. Again, Steam is a big hitter in this area, with the average playtime among Steam users sitting around 27.8, according to Elliot. Is that hours? Like, what is that? You didn't give me a unit here. Bad author. Whereas PS5 and Xbox comes in at 16.5 and 17.3 hours, respectively. There's the units. The game seems to have serious hooks. I'm enjoying it. I'm on PC. There's also interesting crossover between other Bungie games and extraction shooters. On Steam, Alinea Analytics claims 78.2% of Marathon players have played Destiny 2. In addition, 62.7% have played Helldivers 2, 55.9% have tried out Arc Raiders, and 52.3% have leaped in from Halo Infinite. How do they know that? These figures, per Forbes' Paul Tassi, are close to the accurate internal figures at Bungie, according to his sources. Tassi writes in his own report, "There are no plans to scale back or change content plans from here as of now. That may change, but work is underway on future seasons, and the ultimate fate of the game will play out in time." Again, this was never going to be a High Guard Concord situation, and it was ridiculous to think so. That doesn't mean Marathon is the true hit it needs to be, but that's a different conversation. I don't really see how it's different. The game needs to sell a lot more and retain a lot more active players to maintain viability, but the $40 price point has locked in 1.2 million in sales, so they made some money, but it's probably not near the development cost, the development budget, and then the severe lack of marketing budget. I don't know. They need to maybe remarket this game to try to appeal to more people. I don't know if that'll draw people in, though. I don't know what they could do at this point. I have no ideas on this, because if you try to introduce more casual modes, that's going to turn your existing player base off that really like how kind of sweaty this game tends to be. But if you don't do something to get new players in, especially with the coming holiday season and GTA 6 right around the corner, how do you expect to keep the game going long term if people aren't playing? Right? You can't justify leaving the servers up if they're trending downward, less and less daily active players each and every day, each and every week. We're seeing a decline. Just on the Steam charts alone, which I know it sounds like you're unemployed if you're talking about it, but it is what it is. But yeah, they've got to come up with something, y'all. Like, this is an odd situation. This was supposed to be a big hit. I think it's too niche. I think the art style is a little off-putting to some. I mean, this picture looks really weird. It's not most of the game. This is a part of the game. But I think the art style itself is kind of wonky for some people. I like it. I like how weird it is. But some people might be off-put by that. And I think that alone is enough to put, if that bothers you a little bit, like, that's enough to keep you from playing the game. That may be part of it. And you would never appeal to anybody interested in it at that point. Anyway. Yep, we'll keep an eye on the Marathon situation as I continue to play off stream in what little free time I have outside of everything else I do. All right, let's talk about this real quick. Stealth posted a link to Gamatsu. Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition has been rated in Korea. It appears a new version of the game will be announced soon. I don't know what this means, though. What's the Definitive Edition? Maybe it runs better on something? I don't know. I want to know what is definitive, because the DLC is all there. I think most of it's free. Like I don't know what this means long term. The game's fun, a little experimental in terms of Sonic games, but I thought it was worth mentioning here because we don't have like a big new Sonic game coming out this year. We've got the movie Sonic 4 coming out next year, and so you think there'd be a big new game to release alongside of it, but apparently the definitive edition will be out if it's rated in Korea, I'm guessing this summer we'll see something, or in the next like month or two. Who knows? I just don't know what will be definitive about it. It released on current hardware, or runs on current hardware. So what does it improve, or what does it do? We'll find out, I guess. All right, let's get on to Fortnite, because this is going to take the last like 15 minutes of this show to go through anyway. Let's start with the elephant in the room. And no, I'm not talking about myself here. Epic Games lays off 1,000 employees as the Fortnite magic begins to fade. Tim Sweeney has announced the layoffs in a company note to staff. This is 1,000 people, y'all. 1,000 people. Today, Epic Games announced a massive layoff at the studio. In a note to the company, CEO Tim Sweeney wrote, "Today we're laying off over 1,000 Epic employees. I'm sorry we're here again. The downturn in Fortnite engagement that started in 2025 means we're spending significantly more than we're making, and we have to make major cuts to keep the company funded. This layoff, together with over $500 million of identified cost savings and contracting, marketing, and closing some open roles, puts us in a more stable place. That's a significant amount of spending, close to what Epic reportedly paid Google recently, around $800 million. Gotta go scroll through the ads and links to other articles. Continuing the statement, some of the challenges we're facing are industry-wide challenges: slower growth, weaker spending, tougher cost economics, current consoles selling less than last generations, and games competing for time against other increasingly engaging forms of entertainment. And some of our challenges are unique to Epic. Despite Fortnite remaining one of the most successful games in the world, we've had challenges delivering consistent Fortnite magic with every season. We're only in the early stages of returning to mobile and optimizing Fortnite for the world's billions of smartphones, and in being the industry's vanguard, we've taken a lot of bullets in a battle which is only in the early days of paying off for ourselves and all developers. Years ago, Tim Sweeney mentioned that they had potentially lost $1 billion due to Fortnite no longer being on the iOS App Store, a definite hole in the pocket for even one of the world's largest game developers. So with that, they're also shutting down Ballistic Mode, which is their tactical Counter-Strike Valorant style mode, first-person mode, which is kind of fun. Rocket Racing, which I really enjoyed, but it kind of fell off. And Festival Battle Stage, which I don't know anybody that plays the Battle Stage mode for Fortnite Festival, are also shutting down as part of cost-saving measures. With a lesser number of employees, there will be fewer resources available to cover modes, and moving on from less popular entities is a call, however sad, that Epic is being forced to make. These modes will be available through April 16th, so if they're included as some of your favorites, now's the time to give them one last run before their sunset later next month. Which is a bummer. I don't see how they couldn't just put them in a whatever state they're in and leave it at that. You know, like, hey, Ballistic won't receive any updates. Here's how it's running. Here's how it will continue to run. Bugs found and all until, things turn around and we can hire more devs. Now, Epic's massive. I don't agree with necessarily laying off 1,000 people, but here we are. Epic also mentioned AI was not to blame, even though Tim Sweeney has been on record saying AI would be coming to all games. Since it's a thing now, I should note that the layoffs aren't related to AI. To the extent it improves productivity, we want to have as many awesome developers developing great content and tech as we can. At least employees will have some coverage, as many will be granted severance packages of at least 4 months and will be paid healthcare coverage of 6 months for employees affected in the United States. Here's hoping for a quick and smooth recovery for those affected by today's news. So as with all the layoffs, this is terrible. This is one of the worst ones. I think it's the worst one this year so far. 1,000 people lost their jobs because people aren't spending enough on Fortnite and there's not enough engagement. But at the same time, they upped the V-Bucks prices, right? Like they changed the bundles. They're more expensive for less, or for I guess the same amount. You're getting less in a bundle than you were before. And with that, it's like, okay, you're basically telling people it's more expensive to engage with the store side of the game, which needs to be successful to continue to fund the game. But people are already not playing, so I don't know. Maybe introduce a fire sale system or something where stuff on the store gets deeply discounted to bring people back. I highly doubt they do that. I just don't know what to say. This aggravates me, though. This aggravates me. Like, Fortnite has been moving to be more of a platform than just a how am I trying to say, just a game. It's not. It's moving beyond. It's moved beyond being just battle royale. There's a ton of things going on there. They're making Save the World free to play, which was, that might bring some new people in that wanted to try out Save the World. I might jump in and try it out once if it's not already. That's an interesting situation, but to lose 1,000 people to just maintain cost, yikes. That's the industry. This is like the industry going, hey, things are not okay. Industry wide, like when you see this industry wide, this is going to be continue to be a problem, right? Until things can stabilize, or until they figure out how to get people, I guess, buying video games or buying microtransactions again. And I don't think the seasonal model is going to be able to stay the same and keep people engaged like it used to. I think the events in Fortnite are happening almost too frequently, and they're spending a lot of money on collabs that are cool, but I don't think they're paying off. I don't know what the solution. Maybe it's just to cool it on the third-party collabs for a while and focus on building that platform out, and maybe attracting deals with third-party companies that want to have their IP featured in Fortnite. But that's seeming to have less and less value as time goes on. So, Epic CEO Tim Sweeney goes on to say employers will see a stream of resumes of once-in-a-lifetime quality after the company laid off more than 1,000 people. I guess, hey, look on the bright side. But so Sweeney put this down to Fortnite's ongoing downturn in engagement. Current console, we read this. But he says, in the coming days, employers will see a stream of resumes of once-in-a-lifetime quality, folks. An important thing to understand is Epic never lowered our hiring standards as we grew, and the layoff wasn't a performance-based right-sizing, as companies call it nowadays. Let's see what the whole statement says. Because this guy says things, it's just like, what? It's a sound bet that anyone with Epic Games on their resume is in the top few % of their discipline. I guess, but it's like, you've lost tons of talent, and that on the upturn, once things turn around, right? The economy stabilizes for the game industry, and they need to hire people. How many of these people are going to go back? I would say none of them, because the loyalty is burned, right? Loyalty means nothing in the corporate space anymore. It's all a numbers game. So, if they're at the top of their discipline, they will find better jobs or form new studios and work on new projects that are hopefully super successful. As we've seen, that's a massive risk for a lot of people. But if that does happen, then great. But let's see what PC Gamer continued to write. He says, not wrong on that account, I guess, but I'm not sure the affected staff will share the same self-righteous tone. Epic sure did lay off some very talented people, such as game producer Paige Duger, who worked on the Chapter 7 Season 2 and Chapter 6 Season 3 maps, The Simpsons mini-season, and much more. Principal engineer Evan Kinney, responsible for game security and helped shape various events, replay mode, and the upcoming rivalry system, which they say they spent the last week debugging while recovering from pneumonia. Yeah, that was ridiculous. The dude was sick, literally debugging stuff right up to the launch of the new season. And then they're like, oh yeah, good job, get out of here. Character art lead Vitaly Nemushin, who created Jonesy, the face of Fortnite, and other characters like Ramirez, Penny, Kyle, and so on. Senior environmental artist George Sokol, working on Fortnite for 2 years, including on arenas and ballistic modes. Lead writer Nick Blahunka, who helped develop the story, world, and characters of the original Save the World and subsequent Battle Royale mode for over 10 years. Again, loyalty and experience mean literally nothing. Marketing manager Steven Thompson, who worked on Fortnite for over 7 years. These guys were expensive, is what I'm seeing. These guys were expensive to keep. You know? This guy had 10 years, a decade of his life at Epic. Was probably getting paid a fair share, you know, of the budget for just being an employee and, you know, putting work into the game. And, you know, what the heck? Just get out. Well, we're not making enough money. We can't afford you anymore. Was Sweeney's memo yesterday laying out a clear goal to build awesome Fortnite experiences and accelerate developer tools with Unreal Engine. They can't be easy with many key people missing, and that's just 6 of the over 1,000 employees let go. And that's where it's like, okay, that 1,000 was also working on tooling for Unreal Engine, right? That wasn't just 1,000 Fortnite developers or Fortnite artists or whatever. That's people that work at Epic on other projects that will impact maybe, you know, the next set of features for Unreal Engine being delayed or being not as thoroughly tested. There's a lot. So what next? Well, IGN has an article, and I don't really like to feature IGN all that much, but sometimes they have the only thing that I can really talk about. So our teams will have to pick up the pieces. Fortnite's remaining staff say they cannot even fully understand the mass layoffs impact on the game this year and beyond. What comes next is very hard and painful. It's gotta be. So, Fortnite staff who survived yesterday's mass cull of workers say they're unable to comprehend the impact on the game's future and this year and beyond. Yesterday, Epic Games announced it was making 1,000 team members redundant. In a statement, Epic boss Tim Sweeney blamed the job losses on the company, spending significantly more than we're making, amid a downturn in interest in Fortnite, despite it remaining one of the most popular games in the world. In the hours that followed, numerous veteran Epic Games employees took to social media to confirm they were among those impacted. This includes senior and long-standing members such as design director Christopher Pope, principal engineer Evan Kinney, and lead writer Nick Blahunka, all of whom had worked on Fortnite's gameplay, live events, and story for years. Alright, so reflecting on the losses via post on social media, Fortnite gameplay producer Robbie Williams described yesterday as a brutal day at Epic, and that what comes next is very hard and painful. For those now jobless, but also the company's remaining staff who will now push on with that without 1,000 of their colleagues. 1,000, mind you. Our teams will have to pick up the pieces to try and keep moving forward, Williams wrote. We cannot even fully understand what kind of impacts this will have on the game for the rest of the year and likely beyond. I'll continue to do my best to keep making the game the best game for you, he continued. I'm confident my peers feel the same, but please be patient with us as we navigate this tough time and do our best in spite of these truly gut-wrenching losses. Sorry, I'm just kind of skimming to see if there's anything else. So yeah, that, I hate ending on such a bad note, but that is like, that's really the culmination of it, because when you talk about how often these guys have to turn around skins and events and how quickly these events and stuff need to happen without issues. Like, we've had skins pulled because they cause an unfair advantage or an unfair disadvantage in game. We've had events reworked mid cycle because there were issues with, I remember Ballistic launched and it was like, okay, look, it's really buggy. We're disabling it for the weekend while we fix it. And by Monday it was fixed. Like, there's 1,000 less people to pull from for those kinds of situations, amongst other roles, I'm sure. But it's just, this is just ridiculous. And I don't look forward to whatever state the game for Fortnite will be in, or the industry after something like this, because there aren't 1,000 jobs open in the industry that I'm aware of. There might be, but like, how many of those jobs are just ghost listings because they have to put a post up for a job opening, but they've already filled it, or they're just really outsourcing it to like AI and, you know, some guy that already works at the company to supervise, like, you know, the process or whatever. There's a lot going on behind the scenes with this, and I really hope that those guys at Epic that were cut land somewhere great, maybe come up with a new idea, pursue a passion that they've put off because they've been working hard at Fortnite for the last, you know, however many years. I don't know. I don't know if it's possible right now. I hope it all works out, you know. Pray for everybody that's impacted, but good Lord, 1,000 people. That's a lot. That's almost as bad as Microsoft's cuts last year and the year before, I believe. If Microsoft, I think, was worse, but it was, you know, Microsoft's a big corporation. It was corporate wide, whereas Epic is kind of focused. Like, they cut. I don't know how many people work at Epic Games. I'm not even gonna look it up either. A 4-digit layoff is absolutely brutal, and I don't know, not looking good for gaming, guys. While good games keep coming out and we keep getting a lot of awesome games in our hands, just know it's getting harder and harder for those people to keep going, and it's harder and harder for people to maintain their employment when no matter how good the product is or how loyal you are to said company, you could always be on the chopping block. And I don't know, I guess that's where we'll leave it. That's all I got for game news. You guys tell me what you think about anything here. Anything that I missed? Did you guys want to see or talk about? I'll hang out in the just chatting section for a minute. It's a wild time to be a gamer, that's for sure. There's a lot going on. But I appreciate you guys being here. I hope you enjoyed the stream today. Tomorrow, I guess we'll be doing a little bit of a double header as I do a reaction stream for the Xbox Partner Showcase, and then tomorrow night we'll be playing some more Pocopia. I may do some Leaf Green instead. I haven't decided yet, but I do want to play some more Pocopia. I'm just not sure what I'm doing in the game, so that's been kind of hard for me to figure out. I was like, what the heck am I doing? But yeah, we'll leave it at that. All right, guys. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching wherever you guys have hit that like button or follow button or subscribe button, whatever. I appreciate it. All the support has been awesome lately as we grow. We're pushing for that YouTube partnership watch time, trying to hit 3,000 public watch hours. It's been steadily increasing closer and closer. As you guys can see the goal on screen. We were really close last year, so I think we can hit it this year. If I just produce better content for you guys. That's what it comes down to. Anyway, I am gonna go now. I guess we'll find somebody to raid on Twitch. Who's live that we can send this to? Who's doing a stream? I see a lot of options. Chat. You know what? Let's raid X in. He's doing some odd stuff today. And I'll leave it there. All right. Love you guys. Y'all have a great day. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Adios.